folks, and good Thursday morning to you. My name is Jay Cummings, Business Development Officer and Marketing Director at People's Trust Company. I want to welcome everyone back to the podcast. And a half off for summer, so everybody could go wherever they went. And so now that September is back here, we are going to dive right back into our podcast series. And just a note for those of you that are in our local viewing community, the in-person workshops are going to start in the early October. So you can go to our website and see the full lineup of coming attractions. We've got a whole lot of people that we've talked to and we're in discussions with of setting up dates and times, and a great lineup of people beginning in January. We've got a great speaker. But today we have our resident expert SEO specialist, Sasha Weilbaker from Content Works, Vermont. And I met Sasha 2 or 3 years ago at a networking group in Burlington. And I really liked the fact of how she did business and how she just brought everything right down to a nice, understandable level of what SEO is and how it works. And I saw all these great examples of all the people that she has helped. So why don't I bring Sasha onto the big screen? And Sasha, just for starters, why don't you tell us what SEO is, what it does, why it's important?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Sasha. I did a few workshops in partnership with one of my colleagues in person at both of the People's Trust locations, I think. So maybe I've met some of you. SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it's basically the process of getting more organic search traffic to your website. So there's kind of two different ways to optimize traffic to your site, and that's through paid ads or that's through organic search. What I focus on is organic search, and both have benefits, especially if they're run in tandem. There are definitely different reasons to prioritize one over the other, or to prioritize both. But I particularly like organic search traffic because um, it's it has a bit of a higher ramp up time, so it can take up to 6 months to kick in. But once it does, it's kind of like eating eggs for breakfast versus eating pancakes. Like it's sustained growth that doesn't immediately crash when you stop paying for ads, basically.
So that's a pretty cool analogy and explanation of that. So let's dive into a little bit of that right now. And then I'll also shoot out a quick reminder to the folks at home. If you want to ask Sasha a direct question, all you have to do, and whether you're watching us on Facebook or LinkedIn, is just look at the event and enter a comment right there on Facebook or LinkedIn. That comment gets funneled right over to us, and we can ask a very specific, customized question to Sasha about your business, and she can give you straight advice right here, right now, which is pretty cool. But Sasha, you talked about, you laid out a nice explanation of the difference between paid ads for Google and the organic SEO and what the SEO does. Now, one of the things you mentioned there was the ramp up time. Can you talk about a little bit of, well, maybe go backwards and maybe just throw out a low-hanging fruit if somebody had a website that had no SEO work whatsoever, and maybe they hired you. You went in, did a quick eval of their website, their business. You made a few modifications that first month. After you have done that, talk about that ramp up for 6 months, and then maybe talk about what happens after 6 months and why it's such a benefit to the customer.
Yeah, great question. So I guess my process would be taking on a client. I have an onboarding form. We just talk about what their goals are, what their who their competitors are. Geography is really important too. Are they Vermont specific or do they have a national audience? So once I make those changes, I do usually say it takes 6 months to to really ramp up because it takes basically like Google has to recrawl your site and take into account all of the changes that are made. Also, a lot of SEO strategy is kind of ongoing, so it's maintenance. So I can do a lot of quick fixes at the beginning, but I will create a list of ongoing recommendations to basically like keep the ball rolling. So after 6 months, I like to create a plan with people. Either I will make those ongoing changes or I can provide trainings to educate people on how to do it themselves, or sometimes people have like employees that they want to include in the trainings to keep making those changes. But it's really like an ongoing effort.
Cool. So SEO can be a lot of different things in a lot of different situations. Am I correct in assuming there's some types of SEO might be the actual words and content on a page, and then other parts of SEO things that you couldn't see from the customer facing side of a website?
Yeah, okay. So I like to say that Google is kind of like a robot, and my job is to speak Google's language in order to allow Google to make the best referral possible. So, Jay, we met at a networking event. I showed you examples of my work over the course of 2 years. um, and so that kind of like that human to human interaction would be what allows you to make a referral. Um, about my work. But you're a human, Google's not a human. And so Google kind of speaks a different language, and you do have to optimize your site in a way that Google can understand. And so to do that, there's three different pillars of SEO. Um, so there is technical SEO, so that's like all the technical components of a website. There is on-site SEO, so that includes everything that you can see with your eyes on the site. So that includes website copy, that includes images, that includes heading structure, that includes like if the navigation bar is set up right, if the pages link to each other. And then there's off-site SEO. So those are the things that are not on your site but will drive traffic to your site. So that would be like your social media presence, a podcast like this. That would be like if you were featured in 7 days. That would be your Google business profile is super, super important and definitely my number one recommendation for local businesses. And that would also be something like your email marketing strategy. So that pushes people to your website without actually being part of your website.
Okay, so right there you mentioned, did you say Google Business Listing? Is that what you called it?
Yeah, yeah. It's so Google Business Profiles, it basically allows you to be listed on what Google calls the map pack. So it's kind of like if you opened Google Maps and you really wanted to find a cup of coffee and you searched in Google Maps and not on a Google browser for your nearest coffee shop. So you would probably look at the first three based on distance to you, but also you might look at the reviews,
Mhm.
and you might look at images, um, and you might look at other components like their menu, and you might click to their website. So basically, creating a Google Business Profile is what allows those businesses to be featured on Google Maps when someone opens the app to search. And that also comes up on your desktop browser. So if I was searching for People's Trust, even on the right hand column, People's Trust would come up with your website reviews and everything that I just mentioned that allows people to be aware of your brand.
I'm glad you mentioned that, and um, I think probably because I use that all the time when I'm looking for something, and even in a town that I'm very familiar with, because time is so important. I just go coffee near me, or I'm looking for a battery for my boat near me because I just want to get in and get it done. And so I use it all the time and I love it, especially on my phone when I'm driving. I need to buy parts or whatever it is I'm looking to do. Um, the other thing I notice when frequently when I'm out looking for something, how many people have a terrible Google profile or none whatsoever. So that's something that might be if you were working with a business and they didn't even claim their profile, you could walk them through that and really help them with that process.
Yeah, that can be a little bit tricky because um, it's like their account. Uh, so it's hard to walk through people through specifics. But yes, I do provide quite a bit of guidance on how to optimize your Google Business Profile. And you bring up a great point, Jay, that yes, step one is making a Google Business Profile, but step two is upkeep. Um, so it does depend on what your business is. But I have noticed over time that reviews are really important in gaining those like top 5 spots on the map pack. And I noticed this in particular with like service based businesses. So for example, our colleague Andrew Kate is a photographer. And so when you search for photographers in the Burlington area, which is competitive, there's quite um, a few different things are taken into account, but you'll notice a trend in the top business listing versus the bottom, for example, is the number of reviews that people have. So I really do encourage people to ask their clientele to leave reviews for them. And so that can be a direct reach out, but that can also be an automated email after you finish working with someone, prompting them to leave a review with the exact link pasted in there. That could be like a line in your email signature that says like, "Have we worked together? Leave a review here." Or it could be like if you have a physical location, a little like piece of paper or like stand that prompts people to leave a review on the way out with a QR code.
That's a that it, you know, there's so much to that that I didn't even know. I mean, obviously I plug in the People's Trust Company's profile all the time, more so worrying about the accuracy of hours and things like that, and making it easy for people to find whichever branch that they're looking to drive to, or if they need to make a phone call to the branch. But there's so many other things that you can provide as suggestions, ideas, strategy on how to people to get a very robust profile and how much that's going to help business. Some of the things I run into when I'm working with a business is you consult with them with a few good ideas. They try it once, and because the next morning there wasn't a line standing out front of their door, they stopped doing it. But this is the type of thing that you need to nurture frequently. And if you looked at the bottom line, if your work provided 2 extra customers to their business every week, that's 100 customers a year. And then what if you doubled that on year two? That's another 200 customers. That's real money that they should be taking a serious attempt at trying to recruit, right?
I mean, I think so. Jay, I need you in every single business meeting with me to say that. Um, yes, SEO is definitely not like a one and done approach to business. And I think it's really important. And I think it's a really invaluable tool um, that a lot of people don't capitalize on because of lack of education or lack of understanding, and because it's not something that you could really like see with your eyes as a deliverable. But it is something that like will work for you if you have patience with it.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a takeaway for me today is that I never would have called a Google profile business listing part of SEO, but it absolutely is. And maybe that'll help some folks with their businesses to think when they hear of SEO, they think, oh, I'm going to hire some computer geek to go in the back end of my website and put a whole bunch of code in there. And like you said, to the what was it on the off the technical.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, offsite. Um,
Yes. So they get
yeah.
confused with that, but the SE, but the Google listing, which is very beneficial, you can help them with that. They can see it, they can feel it, they can taste it, and then you can help them rise up to that top five by with the strategies of recruiting reviews, right?
Yes.
And you mentioned four or five different great strategies, and what if each one of those got one review a month each on those five strategies: the email, footer, the sign at the checkout, and you know, I think you mentioned a newsletter and things like that. You'd have another 100 reviews at the end of the year, which would really drive traffic. Of you, when I look at a business and I see they've got 185 stars, I'm like, the consideration on whether they're good or not is done for me.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think that's something that every business owner like can do for themselves too. Like with a little bit of training, it might be a bit confusing at the start to set it up. It might take a bit of technical expertise to set things up, but um, yeah, like incentivizing people to leave reviews and uploading current photos, updating hours is something that every business owner can and should do.
So people, you know, they could just hire you and say, step one, let's get my Google business profile listing locked down and a strategy to improve it every week, every month, or whatever. That's an easy baby. That's a layup for you, right, with your expertise. But
For sure. Yeah. When I conduct an audit, which is usually my first step for a business that wants to improve their SEO, local SEO, which is the well, mostly the Google Business Profile, but also a few other things, is definitely a big part of the audit.
yeah, that's great information. I see we had a couple new viewers hop on, either LinkedIn or Facebook. I can't tell which one it is. So, quick little note to those folks: if you want to ask Sasha a very specific and direct question about your business, you can get customized consultation right here, right now, and I'm sure she's going to make you some money. So, Sasha, let's switch gears just a little bit, and we'll run around the other side of the table. And is there a customer that you have worked with, you know, in the last couple of years that is a great success story that didn't require um, tens of thousands of dollars to get all the SEO program tight? You know, is there an somewhat typical style of business that was really easy to help? You see a lot of those folks out there, and maybe you can't reveal who it is, but you could talk industry and strategy and end result, or current result. I'm sure they're still growing.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Um, I would say one that really took off pretty immediately is a how do I keep them anonymous? It's they offer cruises in the Burlington area. Um, and they were a really great client because they just needed a little bit of technical reconfiguring. The owner is pretty tech savvy, I would say, and also really interested in digital marketing and kind of understood that SEO takes patience and was also willing to invest time in working with marketing experts and also training himself. Um, so he got a brand new site that was done by a colleague and it looks beautiful. And he decided that he wanted to use blogging as part of his SEO strategy. And so blogging is can be a really great SEO strategy because it basically takes it adds content to your site on a regular basis, which is something that Google really likes because it sees and can understand that your website is active. So it's not just dormant, it's not sitting there. You're making changes to it. Um, but he just needed a little bit of guidance on how to structure blog posts, um, and like in format images and just format content and how to create the right content. And he created these really awesome guides for activities in the area. And with just a few tweaks and regular maintenance, those blog posts really gained quite a bit of traffic in a short period of time.
That's excellent. I love hearing that. And of course, in the back of my mind, I've been threatening to do a blog here on the website at People's Trust Company about some of the products or how they help like that. But I think the one thing, the takeaway here for sure is there's a lot of little things that people can do with regard under that SEO umbrella. And we shouldn't leave it to them to try to figure it out. They should call you, have you do that onboarding form and that assessment of where they are, and then have you make the suggestion of where you think they should go. And when you do that, Sasha, is it more like a step 1, step 2, step 3, or is it a good, better, best scenario? How does that assessment generally work out if I was a customer or one of the viewers was a customer?
Yeah, so I definitely prioritized recommended changes based on most important to least important. And I do that because if we were to create a maintenance plan moving forward, I want to be able to tell people how many hours I think it'll take and like what are the most important things to tackle. And we can also like talk about whether I'm going to do those things for people, if we're going to create a training so that they can do it themselves, or if they want an employee to do it. So I like to do like tier 1 importance, tier 2, and then tier 3.
Oh, very cool. Now, of course, the $64,000 question is somebody hires you, you you execute a bunch of changes, um, and then I'm a data guy, I'm a numbers geek, and I'm going to say, show me that it's actually working, and maybe I can feel it, maybe I can see a little bit of traffic, maybe my phone rings a little more, but there's got to be tools on the back end that you can say, I had this many visitors last month, and now it's up, and can I tell it's up because of the changes that you made to the site?
Yeah. So analytics is great, really important. And yeah, part of the audit is making sure that there's two tools in particular, Google Analytics and Google Search Console. I always make sure that they're connected and working. And so those are definitely two tools that you can use to measure progress.
And within that, can you, like, if I start blogging on my website here, or if somebody's, Bob's um, dog biscuit treats in downtown Burlington, and he starts doing, you teach him how to do the blogs on his website. Can you actually go into those data tools and see how much traffic the blog is getting and seeing if it's working?
Yep, you can measure clicks and you can measure impressions. So, impressions are how many people are viewing the post on Google but not clicking, and clicks are how many people actually clicked on it from Google. And you can also measure um, position on Google search engine results page. So you can like if Bob publishes the post and it's number 50, um, that's probably not going to get that much traffic. But over time and with continued optimization, we hope that post will be in the top 10, which will create more clicks and then more impressions.
And when you say 50, 50 amongst his other 49 pages on his website, or 50 in the ranking?
50, 50, like the 50th slot. So that'll be page 5 on Google.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Google kind of goes back and forth between whether it has pages or if it's pageless, but it kind of operates the same way. Like the further you have to scroll, the less people are likely to encounter your content.
Gotcha. I know, and got a couple more people that hopped on here, and we've only got Sasha for a couple more minutes. So if anybody wants to ask a very specific and customized question, Sasha is here for free answers today and today only. Our friend that we know, Mike Lannon, always jokes about. I've been to a couple of his presentations on some other things, and one of his slides is, "Where's the best place to hide a dead body?" And they go around the room, and then his slide comes up. It says page 2 on Google.
Yeah.
So it is important to get on that first page, and you can give people, and they don't have to spend tens and $50,000 to get them on page one with you, do they?
No, no, definitely not that much. It really depends on your industry and how much competition there is and how willing they are to incorporate recommendations into their overall marketing strategy. Um, but yeah, like just I hesitate to promise slot number one depending on their industry because if you're a sneaker company in Vermont, it's going to be hard to compete against Nike or Adidas or someone
Yeah.
with a whole team behind them and millions of dollars in ad spend. But um, we can definitely do a lot of work to increase traffic and definitely get on the first page um, in in ways that are helpful.
Yeah. Well, if you're not on the first page, I mean, you might as well be on page 50.
That's
And
true.
and I don't know of any sneaker manufacturers in Vermont, but so for the average Vermont business, I would imagine it's still difficult for the homeowner to do it, but someone with your skill set, if it was the biscuit company or the coffee shop or the pizza, you know, you would have the tools and strategies to get them noticed much more quicker than where they are now.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's definite.
Yeah, I do know from the banking world when we're bidding on mortgage, and we're competing with Rocket and Quicken and all the guys that have the millions of dollars. But we still hold our own. We do a good job with that. So
Great.
some of it is just you being hyper local, right? So we just do northwestern Vermont. So we're not competing against Nike in Wisconsin. It's just the top part of Vermont, and I don't think the national players can play everywhere as effectively as somebody that dominates a local small geo.
Yeah, there are also different strategies that you could use to rank that would incentivize people to click on you versus that big company. So the example that you used with People's Trust, um, a big bank can't advertise that they're local, for instance, or that they've been in Vermont for X number of years. But that is something that People's Trust can advertise for. And so maybe like we tailor search queries or what we want to rank for to something like local
Mhm.
rather than something that is directly competing against the major players.
Yeah. All right. So here's the deal. I'm going to go with you on your next sales call because I said something in a way that you wanted me to, and I'm going to have you come on my next sales call to tell my client.
Yes. Deal. Deal.
Perfect. Well, I've kept you over, Sasha. I want to be respectful of your time. I know we only allocated 20 or 28 or 20 or 25 minutes. So I really appreciate you coming on the program. So, lastly, if somebody's watching live or we get a lot more traffic after the fact that people watch it on their schedule. If somebody wanted to work with you or somebody just had questions on whether they were wondering if they should work with you, where's a great place to start, regardless of the company and the size locally?
Yeah. Um, I love emails. My email is Sasha at contentworksvt.com. And Jay, maybe we could put that in the description or something. And I'm always happy to chat over email. And I also offer free 30-minute consults. And I can send you a link for that too.
Wow, a free 30-minute consultation with somebody? That's fantastic.
Yeah. Just happy to chat through things or whether SEO is a great fit for them right now, might be better down the road. If they need to go to someone else first, that's great.
Yeah. Boy, that's super. I would if I was a small business, I would jump on that 30-minute free consult today. So, all right, Sasha, I appreciate you coming on the program, and I learned a lot, even though I play in the marketing space a little bit myself. So it was always time well spent for me and our viewers. And we will catch you next time. Thanks very much, Sasha, and thanks
Yeah.
everybody for tuning in. And tune in next Thursday or the Thursday after and see what we have on store for you.